Have you ever looked at something revolutionary and wondered, what's next? When Apple's M1 chip arrived in late 2020, it didn't just push the envelope, it redefined it. It felt like a true step change in computing. We got insane performance, incredible battery life, and a unified architecture that changed how Macs worked. It was a spectacular 1.0 product, but now that it's matured into the M2 and M3 generations, it makes you think, if we could go back and whisper a few suggestions into the M1's ear, what would they be? What could Apple have done to make that initial release even more perfect? 1. Wider app compatibility, sooner. The biggest initial hurdle for the M1 was software compatibility. Yes, the Rosetta 2 translation layer was a miracle worker, letting Intel apps run surprisingly well, but it wasn't a magic wand. Early adopters constantly faced the frustrating reality that key professional apps, like certain virtualization tools or specialized developer software, simply didn't have native M1 versions yet. The improvement here wouldn't have been technical, but in the strategy. Imagine if Apple had seeded developer units much earlier, perhaps a full year before launch, with even tighter NDA agreements. A deeper, more coordinated push with major software vendors could have ensured a much broader catalog of native ARM apps ready on day one. It would have smoothed the transition considerably, making the M1 an obvious choice for pros from the jump. 2. More initial RAM options. The original M1 Macs, the MacBook Air, the 13-inch MacBook Pro, and the Mac Mini had a cap of 16 gigabytes of unified memory. For the average user, this was plenty, especially given how efficiently the M1 handles memory. But the very people who stand to gain the most from M1's power, video editors, 3D artists, and software developers running large projects or multiple virtual machines, often need more. Imagine an initial M1 Pro or M1 Max variant released alongside the base chip, or even just a 32 GB RAM option in the initial lineup. Locking the initial Pro machines to 16 GB immediately made them a non-starter for the heaviest workloads, forcing those users to wait nearly a year for the M1 Pro and M1 Max chips. A higher memory ceiling would have solidified the M1 Mac Mini or MacBook Pro as an immediate powerhouse for all professionals. 3. A focus on faster I/O. For a chip focused on high-speed data access within its own architecture, the original M1 machines were surprisingly limited in their external I/O. Specifically, they were limited to 2 Thunderbolt/USB 4 ports. While the speeds were fantastic, the count was an issue, especially on the Mac Mini, a machine often used as a desktop hub. Furthermore, the base chip didn't natively support more than one external display. This was a workflow bottleneck for anyone using a complex desk setup. The fix? More native Thunderbolt lanes. Even if it meant a slightly larger die, enabling the base M1 to support 3 or 4 external ports and at least 2 external displays would have made a massive difference in desktop and prosumer utility. This would have let users ditch the necessary docks and adapters for basic setups. The M1 wasn't just a great chip, it was a promise kept. It set a new bar for the entire industry. But every great 1.0 product leaves lessons learned. Faster native app adoption, a higher ceiling for memory, and expanded I/O capabilities would have been the polish on an already brilliant diamond. With that said, thanks for watching and until next time.